Good morning and welcome to your favorite Friday morning podcast, Conversations with Buddy, brought to you by The Rec, way more than a bowling alley. We bring you these each week in hopes that you'll be encouraged and inspired by the stories and testimonies you hear. And one day, maybe you'll want to be on here. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe to our podcast, either through YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, and just support our community. That's what we're really hoping to do. And we appreciate you being here each week. And this week I have a new guest we've never met in person before. But let me introduce you to a guy named Ray White. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, dude, thanks for coming, man. We appreciate you, man. Well, so Rick Saffield's connected you and I, right?
Yes, he has. Yeah.
So, how do you know Rick?
Yeah. Well, the joy of social media is that you meet a whole bunch of people without even really meeting them face to face, which hence why we're here.
That's right, man. Awesome. This is cool.
But yeah, so we connected online and just follow each other. And we actually on a whim met at the Kaiser Courthouse. I was taking my kids there to swim and he was doing his social media thing and filming. And then we were like, hey, we know each other.
I think I know you. That's funny to see this, somebody on social media and all of a sudden you see him in person. Like, it's kind of weird.
It's really weird.
Like, whoa, you're a real dude. Like, this is cool.
So it was just like, all right, how do we break the ice real quick? And, and it's like, hey, let's meet up again. And it took a couple months because life, kids and all that kind of stuff. And I visited him in his classroom. And
oh, you did?
Yeah. So he was like, hey, come on out, after school one day. So I came and visited his classroom. And he just so happened to be doing a syndicated live show. And just on the whim. And I was just a buddy next to him and chimed in every once in a while with his live show. And we just pretty much laughed a lot during that segment. And it was pretty fun. But really great guy. And then put us in an email or a text thread together and said, hey, you should meet Buddy. So I appreciated that connection and the way that he connects people together is pretty awesome.
I was meeting with a young guy this morning for breakfast about 7 a.m. We meet once a month at Turnaround Cafe and he's a young guy. He's like 24. And I think the thing I learned that I was hoping to pass on to him is your network is your net worth. It's the people we get to meet. And one person, not that we're looking for a person to change our lives financially, or to create success, but at the same time, meeting people to me, I love it, number one. And people influence me. We get to influence people. So what a joy. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate it.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let me introduce you real quick. I want people to get to know who you are. And then we'll dive deep and we'll learn all the good and the bad. We'll learn whatever we need to learn.
Yeah.
Man. So here's what you say. You say that you're a husband of 9 years and a father of 3 boys. Mm-hmm. What's your wife's name?
Lindsay.
Yep. How old are your boys and what's their names?
Yeah. So we have Theo, who is 7, Calvin, who's about to turn 5, and Oliver just turned 1.
Beautiful, dude. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him. I love kids.
Oh, they're rambunctious children. It's amazing.
Your poor wife, man. She's outnumbered, man.
Yes,
I bet she's tough.
Oh man, she really lays down the law in a good way.
Oh yeah.
And I learned so many things from her of just how to structure life in general. Yeah. And she's an educator, so she really has that background, and it's really good. All
right, you say you're a self-titled professional board member. We'll get to that. I want to hear what that means. Okay. I have an idea, but I don't make any assumptions. You're an athlete at heart, a former college athlete, and now youth sports coach. Mm-hmm. What sport?
Whatever the kids are in. But right now, we're baseball.
Okay, so really, it's not just one; it's many.
No, yeah.
Okay, and baseball, man, you got to be all in.
Oh yes,
it's a time.
Yes. Take
some time.
Rain or shine, we figured it out.
You're a content creator, author, podcaster, speaker. Dude, I love that, man. I mean, what a gift.
Yes, it is.
I mean, everybody has that gift. So good for you.
Thank you.
And how old are you anyway?
Just turned 34. Yeah.
Okay. When was your birthday?
Yesterday.
Dude.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank
34
you so much.
Years old, man. How's that feel?
So far the same. Probably because I've been thinking about it for a while. But, knees are still good. Ankles are still good. So we're still trucking along.
So one question for you.
Uh-huh.
It's my favorite question. I do this to my daughter. I have 2 daughters. And what's the one lesson you learned in your 33, the last year, 33? What was that one lesson that you learned?
One lesson, buddy, that's a hard question.
Think about that.
I'll think about it. Let me
come back to that. There's a lesson there somewhere. There's probably many, but...
Yeah. I'll think of one.
Okay. You're a lifelong learner, which is really, to me, a sign of humility, because if we actually arrive at our knowledge and you can't learn anymore, then what's the point?
Yes.
And the last thing is you're a very, very amateur woodworker. So... How cool. You kind of like do everything, man. Like
just a little bit of something.
A little bit of something, man.
Yeah.
And does your wife work, or does she stay home full time?
Yeah, so my wife, she's a part-time literacy specialist in the school district.
Okay.
She's been in the education system for 10 years.
Yeah.
Went to school to be a teacher, is loving that profession, loves what she does.
Yeah.
Just commend her for just that, like knowing this is exactly what I want to do and I'm really good at it. And she definitely is. And it's a pretty amazing woman.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really neat that you talk highly of your wife.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really neat.
Yes.
A lot of guys, I don't know, it's not that they talk bad about their wife, but they may not edify their wife like they should.
Yeah.
So I'm taking notes.
Oh, man. I'm all about the honoring my wife, especially honoring people, honestly.
Well, why is that important to you?
Well, the world could be a really harsh place, and it can be very detrimental in the way that we see one another or experience one another. And, there are not many voices out there who would want to support other people. And so part of my whole MO is being a hype man in general. So hyping people up in every which way, and especially those that we choose to do life with. I choose to do life with my wife. So yeah, I love her, and I want her to be known that she is loved, not just publicly, but also in just the relationship that we have together.
Beautiful, dude. I think it's a message us guys can really learn from, how to honor our wives and really love them.
Yeah.
Dude, good job, man.
Thank you, man. I do what I can.
Yeah. All right. So I want to learn a little bit more about Ray. Where'd you grow up at? And again, favorite question is, how did your parents influence who you are today? Because you seem like a really good guy, married, love your boys.
Yeah.
You're fully engaged in sports.
Appreciate that.
I want to hear it all.
Yeah.
So walk us through the journey.
Yeah. So Southern California, born and raised.
Yeah.
Down near. It's hard because Southern California is large, right? So you say LA, but then you say Long Beach or Orange County. But, really, I grew up in the city of Corona, which is near Riverside. So like UC Riverside is a common marker that I tell people that I'm close by. But born and raised down there, pretty much was anything and everything, super involved in church and in sports and community activities. Really got that instilled by my mom, who one of her main phrases growing up to me was, hey, if you see a need, try to fill it. And she modeled that in a lot of ways in her work ethic. And so there were some days where her and my grandmother, dragging me to things because like, hey, we need you to help set up chairs, or, you got to be in children's church or whatever. But through that, just found a real joy to see what serving others looks like. And so that's one of the major lessons that I learned growing up. And was an athlete, football, basketball, and track. Those were my 3 sports in high school. Had fun, did great. Once kind of senior year ended, or football season ended really, my senior year of high school, it was like, well, I'm not getting picked up by D1 schools. I'm not,
There's nobody calling.
Nobody's calling me like that, and I had fun. It was great, and had a good time, and, knew that while yes, I love basketball, yes, I love track, I was also in the mode of like, well, if I don't play sports again, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
To where D3 schools were contacting me, and it was like, oh, I didn't know there was a whole nother option out there.
Wow.
I just knew D1 and
D1 was it, man.
D1 was D1 or bust,
Yeah.
That's how you get to the league.
That's right.
So once I started learning that there was more than just Division I athletics, it opened the door to see what other possibilities, and kind of one of those things where like, if I could still play, why not? Why not try it? Why not say I'm a college athlete, or just get to go through that experience? And wanted to do it outside of the state. That was kind of important to me as well, just to experience something. Another thing my mom told me, she was like, you always have a home to come back to, so why not go explore? And do things that our family hasn't done before. And that's how I landed at Willamette.
Okay, so you lived in Southern California,
Mm-hmm.
and you picked Willamette as your college you go to.
Yeah.
And you played basketball there?
I did football there.
Oh, you
Football
did
and
football.
track. Yeah.
Football. Okay.
Yeah. Rating sideways on my recruiting trip.
You're like, why
don't know.
am I coming
Oh my
here?
goodness. Yes. I left the sunny, the beaches and all that and came to my recruiting trip. It was rating sideways. We landed at the Salem airport, 15 years ago when they were doing flights. Now they're doing flights again. But was one of those things where it's like, if it wasn't for the people and for the culture and the teammates that I met and the fact that the coaches saw me more than just an athlete, I probably wouldn't have been here.
Yeah, you wouldn't have come.
Yeah.
So did you do all 4 years football and track?
I just did 3 years of football, 2 years of track.
Okay.
The football did from freshman to junior year, and track only did freshman and senior year. I got some in academic trouble. Was almost close to leaving Willamette because of academics, and it's a whole story there. But then, and then my senior year, my junior year of football, I got injured. And that's when another realization clicked. I'm like, oh, snap, football's not forever. What's life going to look like? And I'm heading to senior year, not really knowing what's after college. And decided not to play football that my senior year to put some emphasis on what's next.
Yeah. I can only imagine living in Southern California on the beach. You're a surfer.
No, not at all.
Really?
But I'm on the beach all
You're
the
on the
time.
beach, you're just not surfing.
I'm in the water. I'm out there, but I have not surfed one day. But yeah, I haven't done that yet.
We can make assumptions that, you must be a surfer, but
yeah, not yet.
I get
not
it though.
yet.
Yeah,
it's a desire, but also I'm cool just hanging out.
Yeah, I totally get it. Okay, so you move up to Salem, go to Willamette.
Mm-hmm.
How do you meet your wife?
I actually met her post college. So
really,
yeah. So she was a Western grad. She was born and raised here, actually in Kaiser.
Okay,
and went to all the schools here,
Yeah.
and then went to Western, and her mentor and my mentor are married, Jeremy Williams and Araya Williams.
Yeah.
They were both.
Didn't they move away?
Yeah.
So I do know Jeremy. They moved to like Tennessee or something.
Yeah. So another person, mutual connection.
There you go. I don't know Jeremy well. I know who he is, but he doesn't. I don't think he knows me. But
pretty big staple here in Kaiser at the time.
Totally.
Young Life, and grew up in that way. Yep. So when I got in touch with him, I graduated Willamette, knowing that I didn't really have like a church community, but I knew the churches in our community, but I never really was that connected or committed. And Jeremy, since he has a football background, he transitioned from Young Life to Salem Alliance as the youth or the college pastor, and was hanging around doing contact work at Willamette. And he came to a practice one day. He's actually coming to meet a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, Mikey and Bubba. Meeting them, and somehow I got roped in because I'm always hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, come over, hang out with us." And just through that, just did ministry with him at the college level and at Salem Alliance. And slowly he became not just a ministry partner, but a mentor. And then his wife was mentoring my now wife, Lindsay. And we just crossed paths in a random setup early. We were both early at an event.
Yeah.
I'm setting up. She's setting up. Her mentor's there. My mentor's there. She crossed my path.
It's divine. I mean,
my goodness.
God orchestrates things just perfectly. And he goes,
yes.
Right,
yes.
Here you go, man.
Here you go.
Here you go.
Yeah, she said something to me as she crossed paths, and it was like something that was really like sarcastic. And I turned. I'm like, wait, what'd you say?
What'd you say?
And I was like, okay. And so that kind of started our journey.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so back up just a moment. Mm-hmm. So did you grow up in church then? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so grew up in church.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up
so you have a
involved.
relationship with Jesus?
Yes, relationship with Jesus.
When did that all begin?
Oh my goodness. So yes, my grandmother is very heavy in church. She's my grandmother, my mom was always serving, always active, always involved. And I remember, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're going to church this Sunday, you do what you need to do. But I think I was about, I want to say middle school or just going into middle school where, the relationship mostly became my own.
Yeah.
And it helped that, again, there was a lot of mentors in my life who were influencing that relationship and they modeled the way, and I was like, I really like how they're living their lives. I want to model that too. And I really appreciate that leadership gift was instilled within me. Like leadership, especially servant leadership, was instilled in me because it just made a natural, like, not only am I serving just to serve as a leader, but I'm also serving for Christ. And what does that look like to help create space and environments where that is a opportunity for others people to experience that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Okay. Well, we'll get to this, the board member thing. I want to get that in a little bit. But,
Yeah.
Okay. So you meet your girlfriend post-college.
Yes.
What age are you when you propose and get married? What's
so we were 25, 24, 25.
She's same age as you?
married. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
she's a couple months younger than me.
And she stays 29, by the way.
I noticed I'm always getting older.
You're getting older.
I get it.
She's 29.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Just clarifying.
It stays beautiful.
Okay, good.
And yeah, so we get proposed and married around like mid 20s, and actually that's funny because Jeremy and Araya, they helped do our like not premarital counseling, but premarital like, hey, check-ins, because they loved us and they continue to love us and want to make sure we were good. And he officiated our wedding, and then like months later he bounces, and I'm like, oh, all right, I know you're a phone call away, but you're doing great things in Tennessee. But yeah, so we've been in Kaiser since then, and going on almost 10 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How are you plugged in? Because I know you do a lot of stuff. We're going to dive into that, but talk about being a board member. What does that mean?
Yeah.
How are you plugged into your Kaiser community or even Salem?
Yeah.
Because I know Kaiser people really stick.
They stick to Kaiser.
Yes.
It's a funny dynamic, and we used to joke about that before I started living here. I'm like, yo, y'all are one city. Like, why is this? Like, oh, no. There's this distinction. There's difference. And I respect that. And it's pretty amazing to see that distinction and also see where connections can happen too. But yeah, I jokingly say I'm a professional board member because I find my way on the boards, and love the organizational leadership side of things, how it works, how it takes the systemic opportunities it creates to help create change is things I like read up on at night, right? So I have been involved. Okay, Kaiser Young Life. I've been involved with that in some capacity. I've been involved with the Salem Leadership Foundation. Yeah. The Marion Polk, the Family YMCA. Been involved with Jeremy as a board, Outreach Ministries or Outreach Inc. He has a board I've been kind of sitting on with as well. And then there's another new board that I'm on called Be Black Foundation that just started a year ago. And
you guys meet at 8 o'clock on Thursday mornings.
Yes, at a Kingdom House Coffee.
Yep. Allie, what's Allie's
Saunders?
Last? Yep. Mm-hmm. So we chatted, and she's invited me. I haven't came yet.
Oh yeah, come on down.
Okay,
yeah,
I will.
That'll be fun. Yeah, that's been a good group.
Okay,
good crew.
I'm in, man.
And Church at the Park is another one that I'm involved with as well.
You are a professional board member, man.
Yeah, just.
We'll get you to talk with Tim out here. Maybe get you on Valor Mentoring's board as well, man.
See, don't tell my wife.
You want to say, dude, you gotta go make some money, man. Oh, that's too funny. Well, then you guys have some kids, and what a beautiful gift that God's given you, 3 boys, and what a blessing. Yeah. Walk us through a little bit what you coach. You said you coach a little bit of everything.
Yes. So early on too, so backtracking a little bit to college, I knew when I graduated, I wanted to do something in business, ministry, or athletics. Yeah. Some formative capacity, right? Since that's what I was a part of. Well, business, ministry, athletics, education. Education was also one out there. And that's why I'm dabbling, because I'm like, I like these. I'm exploring my interests and gifts. But coaching has always been one that early on I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, I met a lot of great men and women through coaching who coached me, modeled the way, and wanted to, again, instill that into the next generation. And so I've coached basketball even before I even had kids. Was coaching youth basketball, coached high school football for a few years at South Salem, and even did like a little bit of track, like clinics and things of that nature. And then knowing that when I have children, I want to be that kind of a dad, not the one that's like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I knew that I had fun playing sports because people were engaged with me. So I wanted to create that again for my kids and say like, wow, this is not your only identity. If you're interested, I would love to be that person to help you with it. And when you're done, we're done. And that's okay too. So I am looking forward to today just to be the dad in the stands. But for right now, our kids have been involved with soccer. So I've had to learn how to coach soccer to little kids. And that's
it's like herding cats,
oh
man.
my goodness.
Come on.
I came to practice like what? So we're about to head into our third year coaching. So in the fall will be year 3. But year 1, I'm coming in as a high school with a high school coach mindset. So I have my schedule, I have my, segments and all the things. And I'm like, I got to throw that out the window because we're not doing 5-minute installments of these activities. Like they're just learning how to kick the ball around or, they're running around chasing each other. So it was a lot of herding, but also I laced up with the kids too and played with them as well to show like, I'm not just a guy on the side. I want to be cool. Integrated. So we did soccer, then we just wrapped up basketball, and then now we're in baseball. So both Theo and Calvin are in baseball on 2 different teams. So we're on the field 5 days a week. And just having fun.
Keeps you in shape too.
Oh my goodness. That's the main reason.
That's actually the whole just to stay in shape. Because your boy's going to grow and you have to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And I love that, man. I love that you're super involved. I mean,
thank you.
What a blessing.
It is. I don't want them. There is a in the back of my mind, I know the day is going to come. They're going to be better than me in something, right?
Yeah.
But until then, I still got to maintain like, hey, like I still got it.
That competitive nature doesn't go away, by the way. I think even though our bodies may not perform, that competitive nature, you'll be like 90 and you'll be like, all right, kids, let's go run. I think I can beat you.
It's very true. It's very true.
That's funny. Oh, okay. So talk to me a little bit about your business. So you do your coaching podcast and author, is that?
Yeah. So
walk me through that. I want to know what you do. I want to hear who's your client. Let's talk about that and see if we can get you some clients.
Yeah, there we go. So Raymond D. White Consulting, RD White Consulting essentially is what it's called. What I do is help organizational leaders embed equity and inclusion into their leadership lens and help create a community where every identity belongs and thrives. A lot of what I do, which is also part of why I'm like involved in a lot of boards, because I recognize that while the individual relationships that we have with people is phenomenal, like that's great. We need to be able to build relationships and honor one another, practice with integrity, respect, help create spaces where we can share dialogue and be comfortable in that, even if it's like uncomfortable to conversations about our identities. That's important, but we do operate in a system, and sometimes we don't really take the approach of seeing how this system can change to make it systemically better or sustainably better. And so what I will hope to bring to the leaders that I'm engaging with is, hey, how do we look at our policies? How do we look at our, just our culture or our values, mission and vision, what we do, and really see if it's truly meeting the needs of what we say, right? So pretty much walking the walk.
Walk the walk.
Yeah. And knowing that, especially in the last 4 to 5 years, diversity, equity, inclusion has been a pretty hot topic, and really in whichever way you kind of see the prism is one of the discussion. And my approach is, while I would love to help guide people through that versus be is either do or die, you got to do this or things change. So that's kind of my approach to leadership and my approach to building up people and building up organizations through consulting and coaching and providing that opportunity.
So you work really, there's a company and there's a leader, and your primary goal is to work with the leader.
Yes.
To influence culture.
Exactly.
You call it equity inclusion. I don't know that I've actually heard that word. That's a big word.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are they local companies? Are they nationwide companies?
Yeah. A lot of them is local.
Because you could maybe go to like a brand like Nike and...
Hey,
I mean...
Call me.
Why not? I mean, seriously, why not? Because they need somebody who is an athlete, who understands leadership, who has good integrity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, excuse me. I've a lot of the organizations I do work with is local, because I believe in just that the greatest influence is your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
And the people next to you, and the service providers who are meeting the needs where they currently are in a local context. And so yes, there's been organizations that I have done workshops for, or speaking engagements, what have you, to instill these principles, but not just instill them and say, hey, this is what it is, but actually discussing how does this look in your space. And so that's a lot of relationships I have so far. Yes, I've done some speaking engagements and virtually, right, across other parts of the nation, but really try to really get my hands dirty where I'm currently am.
Yeah.
Since I am here and I want to make a difference here and help connect and build relationships with the people that I'm living with here.
Yeah. Okay, so you also have a podcast.
Yeah.
You've written a book because you're an author.
Yeah.
So how do those both feed your business, or do they?
We're at an interesting juncture right now with that. So the podcast started out of boredom, honestly. I think in 2019 when I was taking an MBA class at George Fox, we were learning marketing, and we were learning marketing from it wasn't like talking about digital marketing or the new ways. It was a lot of former principles that were great, but we stayed in that space. And I was like, well, I wonder what it would look like if I took my knowledge and education and practice it myself. And knowing that I want to speak and want to provide change through using my voice, started podcasting and started On the Mic with Ray White, and just picked the name and said, I'm going to stick with it and go with it. And it's been literally a space where I've been taking life lessons that I currently experience, and what is the lesson within it, and how do we then transform that to help somebody take action? What are the principles and next steps and tactics to move forward with that?
Yeah. It's application, which is always the hardest thing. To hear something is great.
Yeah.
Now to actually go apply what it is you hear.
Yes.
That's hard.
Yes.
Because we all have habits and tendencies and defaults.
Yeah.
It's a battle.
Yes, it is.
So you're needed, that's true.
Thank you.
Okay, so we know your business name.
Yes.
We know your podcast name. What's the name of your book?
Yeah, so the book is called Advocacy in Action, 9 Practical Ways for Allies in Social Justice. And similar kind of vibe of who I am, right? Of, hey, there's these big nebulous concepts, there's these life events that are occurring. You see it in the news, you see it on your social media feeds, but how do I process it? How do I internalize it, make it make sense, and then take action, right? And so during the pandemic, when the unfortunate tragedy of George Floyd happened, a lot of social media posts I saw were people asking, well, what do I do? How do I take action? How do I take what I see and put it into what I'm currently doing without just, posting on social media or whatnot? And so I outlined 9 different steps. And those 9 steps, it was one of those social media world got quote unquote viral, right? Viral for me, right? People posted it, reshared it, all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, there's something here. How do I keep talking more about that? And then 2 years later, put a lot of those concepts into a book that fleshed out even more ways to look at yourself, look at the relationships, and look at your institutions or your the people that you're around, and really practice those steps to make action. And book is pretty low stakes. It's 100 pages.
Yeah.
It's written as a little bit of a journal reflection with some stories in it, some practical steps, and then a space where people can also write their own answers, a journal, a notebook. And yeah, it actually is coming up on its 1-year anniversary in a month. So yeah.
Well, congrats. I mean,
Thank you.
That's hard to do. I thought about writing a book 100 times, and I've got lots of titles and maybe some chapter outlines.
Okay.
But actually applying it and doing it, that's...
well, what's going on? What's stopping you?
Yeah. That's a good question. No excuses, man. Well, and Rick just recently wrote a book too.
Yes,
so
he did.
He did in 30 days or something.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged and inspired, but I'll put a date. In fact, I'll write one this year.
Okay.
I will write one this year. In fact, I'll write one by September 1.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So I'm going to actually
you heard it first.
I'm going to put a date out there because I know what it is I want to say. I just need to actually do the work.
Are you comfortable with saying it right now, or do you want to give us some time?
You mean the title of the book?
Yeah, talk a little about it. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'll come back to you on that one. I've actually got a few titles. I'll come back to that. I'll let you know though.
You know, honestly, that was the same roadblock or barrier that I experienced, right? It was like, I think I wrote the book. It took me about a year to write it.
Okay.
And I'm not a fantastic writer, and nowadays there's so many tools out there to make it a lot faster, like, you know, using audio and transcribing on AI, and then we can make tweaks and changes or whatnot, which is, you know, a quick way to write a book. But the self-conscious aspect of, oh snap, like I'm putting myself out there in a brand new way. My writing I don't feel confident in my writing, and what will people say about this book, right? And very similarly, somebody came to me, is like, well, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
And, you know, outline that great, have a plan for each of those, and then put a date out. And I was working with a friend, and she said, just put it out right now. And I was like, all right, well, let me make the social media post and do it. You've done all the work. You just have to announce it. And that's kind of what really pushed me over. Yeah. And I'm still here. Like,
nope, you didn't die, man.
I didn't die.
Hey, hallelujah. That's funny. Well, I think we do. We make up in our mind all the what if scenarios and what might happen. I think SMART goals are specific, measurable, and the T. I can't remember all the other ones, but
time bound.
Time bound. You know, you have to put a date.
Yes.
Because a dream without a date, or a goal without a date, is merely a dream. And so I know that.
Yes.
I teach that. I coach that, just like you do.
Yeah.
So I too have to put a date. Like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
You must
do it.
Put a date on it. So
let's do it.
You heard it. It's your fault, man.
Encouraged.
No, you encouraged
I love
me.
it.
You called me out. Like, what's your excuse, buddy? I have excuses too, you know.
We all do, yeah.
We can justify 12 ways to Sunday on why we can't. When I coach people, people always have this special story. And I always say, hey, cool, thank you for sharing that with me. By the way, you're not special. We all have the same excuse and justification.
Yes.
Your story's not special.
Yes.
Because we all have a reason why we don't.
Yes.
So what do you want to do about that?
Yeah.
What's next?
You know, I was hearing, I've listened to a lot of podcasts over the past 5 years, learning, like studying the craft and hearing how other people in their segments and everything. And a lot of entrepreneurial business podcasts I was listening to, there was quite a few folks who would say, hey, that person doesn't have two heads, so you can do it too. Which I know that was like a roadblock for me too. It's like, I can't be that person that does this or write a book or be a speaker, and would find ways to be adjacent to it, but not really do the work. Which actually is how kind of my consultancy business started, where I did digital marketing for coaches and consultants in like that DE&I leadership development space, because I was like, I mean, I think I can do it, but let me learn and engage and see I have a small window or support that I can support you in. How do I help take this off your hands but also learn the business along the way, which kind of catapulted that thought. I'm like, oh, like that's how you do it? Okay, yeah, I can do that and tweak the language or see how that could apply to this community, or because it may not be as present here. And they're people like me, and they just took that step, and you know, also have barriers or insecurities or whatnot, but still find a way to navigate that. And so my hope is, as I am navigating that for myself, one, I got little kids at home who are seeing me and watching me, which, by the way, for one of my birthday gifts, my oldest son wrote a book.
What?
And he's talked about in the past, like, I want to write a book, or I want to do a podcast. I'm like, dude, that's amazing.
I love this kid, man.
Yeah.
We should have him on the podcast.
Hey,
I'm not joking. I have another client that's like, hey, I think my son would like this. Like, bring it on, man.
Come on, get experience.
Kids have so much wisdom.
Yes.
Simple, just
yeah. So I try to model it and walk through it, but not just do it in a way that's like put myself in the ivory tower in some capacity, but just like I'm also experiencing, but reaching back and engaging and say, hey, you can do it too, and you could probably do it a lot sooner than I can. Yeah. Just going, how do we navigate those roadblocks and have a guide to work through that too?
Yeah. What's your favorite podcast? Do you have like a favorite person you follow?
Good Lord. I'm on a rotation right now.
Okay, give me 3 to 5 names.
So right now, there's a man out of Atlanta. His name is David Chance. He has a podcast called The Social Proof. And Actually, he was one of the first people that when I was wanting to engage in content creation and social media, I followed him. And it's funny because he started off with like a YouTube channel doing entrepreneurial lessons, and he would have like it was like a blank room, a whiteboard, and a camera, like, you know, a cheap camera, whatever. Basic. And he's chicken scratched these business lessons, and it was like 10 minutes long. And I'm like, that's actually, and he was like using his personality, and I was like, that's funny, that's cool. And now he has his own podcast,
and he's being authentic to who he was.
Yeah, and I really like that, and talking about these concepts and sharing it in this authentic way. Now he has his own like content creation warehouse in Atlanta, and does different events and activities and brings other people in. You know, he has a full-on setup. It's like really nice. But watching his journey has been pretty cool. But I listen to his podcast quite a bit. What else am I listening to right now? They just ended, but there's this one called Nikki and Moose. And they talk about branding and business and similar, right? They look at the world, they look at what's going on in the influencer space. They talk about the branding lessons and the business lessons and how you can apply it. So those are like the top 2 right now that have been really good.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joined a YouTube group probably 4 months ago because I'm fascinated by YouTube actually all of a sudden. I'm not sure why, but maybe one day monetize it. I don't know. And I know nothing about YouTube, but Ryan Pineda is a guy. Yeah. He's a Christian guy. He lives in Las Vegas. He does real estate, flipping, and but I noticed that he's changed more biblical teaching, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's some guys on there that they're not believers, but their business savvy is good, like Alex Hormozy. You might know that name. But yeah, I love listening to podcasts and YouTube.
Yes.
It's been fun to learn. Yes. So you can teach old dog new trick. You know, I got to the point like, yeah, I'm too old to learn that. I was like, that's really bad thinking. Because your last thing was a continual learner.
Yes.
And I think if we ever get to the point where we think we've learned all there is, or I can't learn anymore, that actually shows a lack of humility.
Yeah.
That's just not good.
Not at all. Not at all.
So I show up, I'd rather ask questions than come with knowledge.
Yes.
I want to learn from you or whoever and just gain. What do you know that I don't know?
Yeah.
Where's God gifted you?
Yeah.
How do I learn from you?
Yeah.
There's no ego.
Not at all.
None.
And even if there is, how do you like acknowledge it to let it not become, again, another barrier towards the learning, right? Because sometimes, and I struggle with this myself of just when I enter into spaces and thinking that, internally, I might be better or I might have more knowledge in this space, but that shouldn't get in the way of like what you just stated of there's still exchange of knowledge or exchange of relationship that can still happen here. And there is no, the working to make the table flatter or working to make the landscape flatter and just we're learning together, we're growing together, you're bringing something, I'm bringing something, and together is creating something great, more than just what could be done by ourselves or, like you said, thinking that we have it all in our heads. And, that's a lot of what the preconceived notions that if we work to navigate through that, how much greater will we be in relationships and connectivity and community together? What could we create with that kind of perspective? And so that's awesome.
Yeah, I think without humility, because your shirt says community is the solution.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. I mean, you can't come to the community with an all-knowing attitude. Nobody's going to listen to you. But if you come with humility and empathy and compassion, willing to learn, bring your expertise. God has gifted you a certain way. Bring it. You're not bragging about it. You can edify the Lord for the gift that He's given you.
Yes.
It's just, you have gifts I don't got. I got gifts you don't got.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes, it is.
So what, as you think, I always like to cast a little vision, just to hear your vision, when you're 44, 10 years down the road, your kids are a little older, your oldest is now 17.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I mean, and what are you, because if we don't know what that looks like, then how on earth can you do today that feeds what that should look like in 10 years?
Yeah. In 10 years from now, like you said, we'll have a kid who will be close to graduating high school age, and everybody else will kind of be falling in line in that way. I'd hope that I would have enough capacity and creativity to just, again, be in whatever they're interested in. So if they're like, yeah, we're going to travel over here, or, you know, they could decide to do sports or do any other activity that requires them to be all in and interested. I'm like, yeah, how do I be available and supportive for you in that, right? You know, because I value family. That's one of my values, and want to ensure that they know that they have parents that are here and I'm here for them and want to support them in their goals. So making sure I'm available for that. But I think in doing so, right, you got to pay the bills. So
you do got to pay the bills.
So, you know, we'll see. I'm very grateful that I started this journey of really leaning into the gift of speaking and the gift of leadership and community development, community building, and would hope that creating either partnerships or collaborations with members in our community to create something that is sustainable, longstanding, and making an impact. You know, I think that's a lot of what I see and what I hear in the boards that I sit on, or just you know, being about. I'm like, oh, there's an initiative with young adults, or initiative in helping with youth and education. Okay, well, I know these 3 people over here that also have the same passion, but they just may not know each other. What does it look like to connect them to this effort and then create something great out of that, right? Wow. So my mind works in that way. And I'm grateful for mentors in my life who had that similar mindset. Like Jeremy, for example, he was always that great connector. Rick is another great connector. So whatever effort that allows space to create better communities for the next generation is work that I would hope to be doing. Speaking into helping shape, helping craft in 10 years, I will hope that I'll be doing something in that space.
Dude, well said, man.
Thank you.
Do you guys like to travel? Do you guys what exactly do you guys do for fun besides sports and stuff like that?
Kids, all the things. Yeah. So traveling is different, obviously, with children, as you know. So it's not just a get up and go. As I've seen online, it's like you're just taking care of your kid in another state.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yep.
So it's like, cool. Now we're here.
We paid a bunch of money. We got here. We're in a different state.
Oh, man.
Taking care of kids.
It's great. But no, some of our favorite places, my wife and I honeymooned at the coast and in Central Oregon.
Yeah.
And we did that intentionally so we can go back to those places.
Yeah.
And not that we can't go anywhere, right? But like we can just like, hey, let's go to Sun River for a weekend, right? So yeah, we love to go to Sun River. We love to go to Bend. You know, I've not dabbled in brewing beer yet, but that's probably another side hustle I'll find my way to get into. Just learning of like, how does this process work?
Right.
But we love there. We, you know, have a good time in the sun, and the kids enjoy that. You know, we find our way back to California to see family, or Arizona. We have family in Arizona too. We're actually planning our 10-year in next year to Hawaii, and probably doing that. So yeah, so you know, it's been those are kind of maybe some of those destination places. And I feel that again, as our kids get older and maybe become a little bit more self-sufficient, we'll find our ways.
And they do, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank God. Yes.
Good Lord. I'm like, man, I wonder what's this look like. But eventually, if they get to an age,
and you'll snap and you'll blink and they'll be 17. And
oh man,
they do.
Yes, because so tell me again, the age of your kids.
So my daughters were 2 and 4. Now they're almost 25 next week and 27.
My goodness, that's amazing.
Young ladies, and they grow so fast, and we still hang out together. They still love to. They still enjoy us, and I'm thankful for that.
Yes,
we water ski in the summer, we snow ski in the winter, and
that's great.
This weekend we're celebrating my younger daughter's birthday. She turned 25, so we all as a family, whatever it is they want to do is we do.
That's awesome.
We pile in one rig and we go.
That's so cool.
And so family is really high on our list.
And I think as you stated, like 10 years from now, 20 years, you know, however long we're here on this earth, that's the type of dynamic that I really want to create for us and our family, right? And so a lot of that is on me as with what I bring to the table in this family, to make sure that I'm not doing 20 million things outside the house and giving very little to the family. So there's about dynamic.
And that's a hard balance. That's a hard one to walk, isn't it? Because
it is.
I can see that you're busy, but you know, and one of the things I'd say I failed at as a husband, and my wife is gracious, so that's good. You know, we've been married for 32 years, and
that's awesome.
And definitely gracious. But I think the thing I've learned over the last year is Yeah, I think I've always had some type of vision where I want to be and goals. I'm goal oriented like you. But then how do we do that as a married couple? Our vision.
Yeah.
Not hers, not mine, but ours, and really making that the priority over even myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been fun.
That's
and
good.
And I think that's the challenge for you. I think you're doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
I don't know you well, but
yeah.
The fact that you're involved in you honor your wife, you're involved in your kids' activities, it's not hard to tell that you love that.
I appreciate that.
So,
which I think to circle back to the very beginning when you asked me what did I learn in 33.
Oh, here we go.
So there you go. Pull back, call back. I think it is that. Like I've heard all my life, you got to have balance or learn to integrate. But it's like, okay, what to say no to and all that. It's like, I get that. But what you just stated of you're doing it in partnership with your wife. You're doing it in partnership with, those in your family or those around you who say, yes, I want to do life with. That has been the biggest lesson, especially as we move from 2 to 3, where it's like, oh no, like the Ray of even just a month ago is not going to work today because we have to navigate this new way of life. So I need to be more intentional about speaking up or sharing, hey, this is on my heart and vision, or, or I like that, or I don't like that. So being more intentional in that way instead of keeping it in my head, but knowing that I chose to do this with Lindsay and Lindsay chose to do this with me. And there's not that there was competition, but I could do a better job of articulating more, this is what's going on in life, or tell me what's going on in your life, and how do we work together through this, and knowing that we both called to be here together and with our kids and making this a formidable, amazing household, and be comfortable with that. Because I found that if I say that out loud, a lot of what she said was like agreed, or she was like, oh, I like that, but tweak that. And it's like, oh, that was so much better than what I thought. Like I should have came to you sooner. So,
right there.
Yeah. So that was definitely a huge light bulb in 33 that I feel really confident stepping into 34, knowing that that's going to continue to refine and shape and edit its way to create that vision that we created, that, God has instilled into us and what we're creating in our household.
Yeah. I think guys in general can be very passive. There's a lot going up in the brain. They're processing, but they're not actually speaking. Not sure why. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they don't think their wife will like what they have to say.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't communicate well or articulate well, you might resent.
Yes.
And then later on stuff, well, you didn't let me.
Right.
I never heard you.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, articulate, hey, what's on your mind? This is what's on my mind. What's on your mind?
Yes.
It's a give and take.
It is.
And go, hey, and you asking your wife, hey, what do you think about this here? Hey, do it this way. Our wives are smarter than we are, man.
Oh my goodness.
Let's admit that right now. So,
yes, that she is 100%. I follow her lead in a lot of things, and I'm just appreciative that we get to create that space for each other, and it's very much so, like you said, like because going into marriage with that perspective early on, like, all right, I'm the man, I got to have this figured out and all these kind of things. And, keeping a lot of stuff in my head, like that was a lot of what I spent the first, 5 years or so before we had kids, that dynamic. And then now it's like, okay, like, come on, Ray, like we're better than that. You're better than that. Let's continue to make this a relationship versus a one-sided situation, or not even engage and kind of have those preconceived notions. And I feel so much better now. So it's great.
Dude, what a victory, man. You're 34. It only took me about 20 years longer than you. So,
no.
But that's the message. That's really, in a way, that's why I do this podcast is I want to hear your story. Where are you winning? Where did you struggle?
Yes.
Like we all struggle.
Yes.
But guys, we don't like to actually tell people we struggle.
Yes.
We struggle.
Yes.
I still struggle.
Yes.
My wife knows me really well, better than I know myself. And
it's hard to admit too sometimes.
It is, but you know what? It's part of humility, just being honest.
Yes.
My wife is hyper aware of me. So, well, dude, it's been awesome to get to know you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get to see you a lot more.
Yes.
I'm going to be checking out your book, your podcast, your business.
All the things.
Yeah. I want to see you succeed, man. I want to see you impact our community.
I appreciate that.
And if there's anything I can ever do for you, man, reach out.
We'll do.
And maybe we'll have you on again. Well, maybe in a year or so.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on, see where life's taken you.
This would be amazing.
And any last words of wisdom that you wanted to share? Is there anything on your heart that you just want to get out there that you didn't get to share?
What is the last thing? You know, I appreciate, even just in this discussion, you talked quite a bit about the ego side that we have. And that if we were to acknowledge, put it to the side, or recognize that it's there and articulate it in a way that is not creating defensiveness, but just like ability to show that, hey, this exists and we want to get to this point. So how do we navigate it or, debunk it or what have you, just to help reach that goal? And a lot of that does come from just the articulation of everything, ourselves, our minds, what we see, what we think, and finding the people in our circles, in our boat, as Jeremy would say, that would help us navigate that. And even when we do that, it's not a dig or connotation, or if we say that they're going to leave, then I was like, no, they're with you. And that's why you're here. Like, that's why you said yes or whatnot. So that is something that, Nick, you said it took you 20 something years. It took me 15 years, right? So if I would have known that like in high school and in college, that probably would have changed a lot of the dynamics that I experienced then. Mm-hmm. But then, you go through life and the journey of life to pick up these lessons. And I would just hope that those that are listening, that if there is something that they're contemplating or processing and feel like they aren't able to because of the ego side of things, recognize it's there, but then find the people in your life who love you and want to be with you to help you walk through that and utilize that relationship to work through it and get to the end goal. Because it's so much better on the other side when you do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening to this week and every week. Hopefully you really got a lot of information out of what Ray talked about. I'd love for you to reach out to Ray. I'll put some information in the show notes. You can reach out to Ray. He's a great guy. He loves God, loves his wife, loves his kids. I mean, what's not to love about that? And the verse I'll leave you with today is Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he'll make your path straight. So that's something I try to live by, albeit not perfectly. That is my goal, and that's my goal for you and my prayer for you as well. Thanks, Ray, for being on this week. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate being here.
Yeah.